let me open up just to be super verbose. So here it's funny that as soon as I opened the project, it went straight to where I was. So yeah, I saw that we were calling stub env from somewhere in triage ops and had a look at what it's doing. And the main thing that I saw here was it was inspired by this. What was a little bit frustrating is that it doesn't say why we decided to roll our own rather than just using this.
I did
Um,
wonder that because I saw that that gem is kind of, it looks like there hadn't been much activity in that gem in a number of years. And if that was the reason for not
Possibly. I
using it.
mean, my guess would be that it does so little that it doesn't really need to be maintained. You know what I mean? There probably haven't
Right.
been any requirements. But this was the thing that was interesting that, you know, I've used multiple methods to grab environment variables in the past.
Right.
The clever thing about this gem is that it's not just stubbing if you're using fetch or if you're accessing it as an array, or it's stubbing them all to make sure that no matter how you're sort of approaching it or attacking it, it should hopefully the stubbing should work. So yeah, I just saw this reference in here and grabbed that one.
And
um
so would the concern be, because if you would normally just do the allow environment variable to receive, was the concern that you wouldn't be able to do that with fetch without having this sort of
So you
gem or
could do
module?
it, but you have to think about it. So you'd have to specifically look at every time you're referencing an environment variable and say, right, am I using .fetch to grab it? Right. So I'll probably shoot myself in the foot here, but if we search for env case sensitive, we're doing a fetch, a fetch, a fetch, a fetch, a fetch. Okay, it looks like we're doing all fetches in this instance, but I have definitely used this syntax before as well, where you just, yeah, would just do like CI, API, GraphQL, URL. So yeah, using this stub gem means no matter how you're accessing the CI variable, it should work. Whereas if you were to stub just in fetch, then it would only work in that scenario. So yeah, I think I was just using it to be a bit more safe or flexible, if that's the right word.
Okay.
Um, Similarly, so yeah, from I've never seen an instance variable used in an RSpec before. That
Oh,
doesn't
really?
mean that it's wrong, but I yeah, I thought it might be best to just stick with what I'm more familiar with, using the let. And we've got let it be that we use in the main GitLab project as well, but that's more about when database objects need to be created and preventing having to recreate them over and over again. It's an extended, I don't know what you want to call it, like helper or method that's not available out of the box. So, but yeah, plain let works really nicely because only when you reference this concrete class does it actually, I don't know what you want to call it, evaluate this block,
Right.
which is quite nice if we end up with multiple tests. Um, yeah, so that's that one. We'll keep open for a minute. So yeah, the fixes that I had to implement today were this here and this here. So these constants are defined inside the class, but I don't even know Ruby well enough to accurately describe what we're doing here, if that makes sense, where we've got a class which contains most of the code, but you can, when you just execute the Ruby script as like a sort of bash or shell script or whatever you want to call it, it kind of executes this, and then this kind of news up our class and uses the class to do most of the work. But these are basically in the wrong scope, so needed prefixing. But you know, that we didn't find that out until this script tried to run, and then it exploded. So it'd be nice to have, I don't know what I call it, like a kind of smoke test. I don't want like an end-to-end integration. I don't know what we call it, like something that
Right.
that yeah, tests as much as possible of this. So one nice thing that I think I've done in our spec helper, I've used this web mock to basically prevent any like comms, any network comms. So anytime you try and run something, it should, if you haven't stubbed the network requests, it should explode, it should complain. So if we just tried, so what I don't even know though is how to execute. So with our, what's this test for? This is GraphQL helper. Yeah, so GraphQL helper is a module, and I'm just executing this method. But let's create it. Let's create it. See what happens. So it does make me immediately think that I should possibly move that into lib. Therefore, I need
probably do the file path on.
Exactly. Wonder if, no, maybe not. Wonder if I could use more of an absolute. Okay, so that's all good. So if we, the easiest way is to what I don't really know is how to execute the script. Sure, it shouldn't be too hard to find out. So we shouldn't need any of those shenanigans. Yeah, this is where it gets tricky because we're not describing this class really. We're describing the stuff outside of the class as well. I don't know. Yeah, I just don't quite know if we can do that. I don't think I've got anything untoward, but before I open my web browser with what's it called, ChatGPT and a million other things open, I'm just gonna stop sharing and then reshare. So we can pick and choose our audience here, but so I'm gonna say in RSpec, can I test or how? I'm sure I can. How can I test a script that looks something like, just give it a much abbreviated.
Out of curiosity, does the GitLab AI feature for spec give any input on this one?
Yeah, so it works well. When me and Marco tested it on a pairing session recently and provided a bit of feedback. Yeah, the problem is I like to be conversational with AI, and at the moment the test one isn't. So what we had to do was kind of say, give us some suggested specs, copy them, paste them, sort of try them, identify a few obvious issues, tweak. Don't think we even tweaked or saved the spec. I think we tweaked the code because there was something in there. It is either hard to test or, yeah, that's right. It was suggesting we could find a component, test it by using its class, its kind of CSS class, but it didn't have a CSS class, but it didn't really have any easy, unique way of identifying it. So we added a data test ID to it, which is the standard way that we identify components and objects in our sort of tests. We added that, pushed that, and then asked the AI to generate specs. And this time it correctly said, right, identify it using the data test ID. So it's definitely good, but it'd be great to be able to interact with it and say, oh, well, that won't work for this reason. Can you do this? Or, that sort of thing.
Given that reasoning behind it so you can follow up.
Exactly. So I'm gonna try something super. So can I just get rid of like all of this? Just saying, but okay. So again, that's kind of good feedback in a way. That it's sort of saying move all of your code into the class, and all you should probably do outside of the class is
run it. Yeah, create it and run it. Yeah, that's how I'm used to. Like I'm not used to seeing this much outside of a class.
Yeah, absolutely. So
at the same time, you shouldn't have to test, Ruby methods that we know work, right? So if there's like you wouldn't test the creation of a class, like there should be certain things that I guess one of the things with end to end is, do you have to test things that we know are working?
Yeah,
because they're Ruby methods.
What I was hoping we could do, let's just see if it has got as far as so is it pretty much saying, I'm not 100% sure if it's saying, yeah, you can't, because it's basically saying, oh, so let's ask it the question, would it be possible without refactoring? Okay. So that's the main thing I want to, just for the purpose of now, like to see a load of errors saying you haven't stubbed these API, these network things. And if we were to sort of fix all of those and make them return correct looking responses, I would then expect no exceptions to be thrown. But obviously exceptions will be thrown because, we're trying to access constants that don't exist, and we're trying to do something else somewhere else where we had that kind of message.
Right. So you want a test that shows it'll explode if the wrong token or URL is being passed through to it.
No. All I want is, at the moment, what I call a smoke test to see does it explode, and it should explode because I've rolled back the fixes that I made. So there's bugs with this script at the moment. These are invalid.
Okay.
So if you look at that, that's defined inside of the class. So you can't reference it from outside of the class without telling it that it's inside the class. And then this other change here where this should be message body equals, but the equals was missing. So if I try and run this script, stub the network requests, it should explode.
Gotcha. Okay.
No, I don't know that we'll get that far, but I'll see how we get on. So I don't know if community load. So okay, we're in spec, so we need to go up to bin. Even tempted just to see. That will do. Okay, so we're in spec. We go up. We go into bin. Spelled it wrong.
Looks right on the spelling.
Clicking on it is opening it. No load. Wonder what the comma true is. Um, um, you keep asking. So absolute path, right? Okay, so relative to where I'm running RSpec, which is actually from the toolbox. Boom.
Oh wow.
So I guess loading it isn't enough. Or maybe it's because the if isn't failing, but that should put me in good stead now to, we've still got a firebug, yeah, a pry, yeah, so we've got a pry in here, so I should be able to put in the pry here. Boom. Interesting. So obviously the suggestion it made, program name equals. I mean, to be honest, I don't even know whether, I mean, is this even needed? Like the if, I don't really know why we're checking.
No, but I don't see why the if is needed at all, and we don't have another value or another else value here. If that,
No, like I don't really know. I mean, we copied it. You know, we started with one script and have copied that pattern, unfortunately. Um,
from qualities toolbox script, is that where that came from?
Probably. So where's my if block? That is equal to right. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try like seeing if I can get away with. But then it's going to do the options passing as well. So I don't know if there's any way to pass arguments in when we're running that. Like everything just kind of says, uh, yeah. And that makes sense. That's what it would output if you tried to run the script without any arguments.
Right.
So yeah, the next question is, can we pass it arguments? So my script requires command line arguments. Is it possible to pass them when we call it vote? Well, surely that's not going to work. So we'll find out. But didn't output this, so I don't think that actually caused it to run whatever was in backticks. We would have seen the output on screen.
Although it was saying to run Ruby, right? Is that on there?
Yes, sorry. Yeah. You're quite right.
That way it'll execute the file.
You're quite right. Just not familiar. Like backticks, I thought was almost like just creating a string. Do you know what I mean? So if we like did a puts, I think it would just put what's. No, it
There
is
you go.
actually. Okay. Maybe I'm me. Learn something new every day, eh? So we can capture the output equals that. So if I start passing arguments and I pass, so what we have some kind of like, what's it, wider.
Maybe the team members is easiest with just a start date.
But if I pass it, actually, I don't even need to pass it any arguments, do I? Because if it's running from, yeah, I'll try it. I'm just thinking 2023. Yeah, if I ran it with the environment variable set, then you don't actually need to pass it any arguments, I don't think. Because when we run it from our CI pipeline, they say it's not exploding. But I guess I'm just not sure if any of the RSpec kind of magic, yeah, it's like the web mock, etc. None of that's going to work anymore. So, and because it's all of the problems will only happen kind of when it runs in CI. And what I mean by that is that the post to Slack was where one of the bugs was, and we don't post to Slack if it's not running in CI. Yeah, and the other bugs, again, return unless options not scheduled. So yeah, but I think we've got enough. But the main thing is we definitely need to refactor. But I don't think that's a big drop. Like I'll probably raise. I could do it in one MR maybe. Raise an MR just to pretty much move all this into. I don't know whether I'll just create a new method inside this class. I know it's a bit confusing. We've already got like using this execute method. Maybe we have like engine dot run or dot start or something like that, and that will just have all this code that's here inside that, and then hopefully that'll allow me to kind of test it a bit.
Yeah, because you're trying to keep the time log, right, on how long it takes to execute.
Yeah, so let's. I mean, it doesn't really matter here nor there, does it? So let's new it up. We can still do all that message stuff, I guess. So it's the execute bit. It's this bit here, isn't it, that I want to. I just don't see any reason why I can't move.
I think you just need the arguments you're going to pass through, and then you're creating the class with the options. Everything else I would think could go in the class.
Yeah. I think maybe move like that. Is that done? I don't see why we can't. Maybe even move. I know the timings will be slightly off, but oh yes, you're saying pass the options in potentially. Oh no, we've already passed them in.
Yeah.
But we're accessing them. So are we setting them when we new up this class?
Is there no initialization method for this?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But we're setting all. I'm just to be quick while we're on this call, I'm just going to pass them in so we can. So we want to do dot start options, I think, right? In fact, I don't really care about. I could almost remove this entirely, because all I want to do is see what this does, I guess. So if we change this spec, I have to go back quite a bit, aren't I? So we want to require the RB when we do that. Now, be able to do something like assuming that's going to. Okay, so it spat out the output, which is good, I think.
So I'm gonna have to hop off in a minute here.
No worries. I can go for a few more seconds and I'll probably lose the recording when I'm just not quite sure how to pass, like, do you know what I mean? I don't quite know how to pass the options
Right,
in. Um, I could put binding.pry back in, can I quickly in and run bin slash community dash s and then examine that. Oh, oh, so close, so close. I guess that maybe. Oh, still got my binding pry in there. So it's still spitting that out. Oh, interesting. Okay, I feel like I actually want to add my if back in now. Because I actually don't want these things to be called. Because I'm calling this directly, right, in my test. Interesting. I guess we have to put all the empty default values in there. One
Even if
step
you're
at a
not
time, I
running them.
guess.
Okay.
What's that, sorry?
I was gonna say that's even though you don't need them to run the standard script, it needs to detect them because they're going to be undefined.
Yeah, so I guess this. What do we? Oh, I could. again, if this method wasn't, if this was in a class, I could call it, but I don't quite know if it's possible to call this method directly, because this is what I need to do. This will then create an options.new. Oh, maybe that options.new. If I could do like, yeah, I remember what I moved in. So the pass is inside there. Yeah, but we don't. So actually, that's what I should have been doing all along, I think. Because the passing is outside of there. Oh, it's private. So we don't need that anymore. So yeah, it takes some plugging, but slowly we've got to a point now where we can see the network requests. We can stub those for and put some data in for it to get back, and eventually it would. I'm almost certain it would explode in the way that it exploded when it was actually running this morning in CI.
Okay.
But I think you probably, and I have to be fair, so I can revisit, continue on tomorrow, chipping away to try and put a sort of small refactor of this script along with a basic, I'm going to call it a smoke test or end-to-end test for it. Sound good?
Yeah, I think that's good progress to get, especially getting some of these tests added in. And how did you find, just wrapping up, those errors you discovered? That was just today from it coming in that you figured that out?
Yeah. So the frustrating thing is that I assumed it was token related because we had revoked and rotated about a bunch of tokens. But then when I dug a little bit and looked at it, I was like, oh no, actually, the error was completely unrelated to tokens. It was sort of saying, lost where they are now because I've moved them up here. Yeah, it was basically saying it couldn't find, wider issue ID is null or is undefined. And then when I started thinking about it, I was like, well, what has this got to do with tokens? Absolutely nothing. So when I looked at it, it's because we merged this in last week and just didn't have any real obvious way to test it.
Yeah, that's my concern, is when we review these MRs, we're just manually running the script or doing local tests that aren't taking like the scheduled process
Exactly.
in
Yeah.
account. Yeah.
Yeah. This will really boost what we're able to do and make it much more scalable. So yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, Lee.
Well, have a great afternoon and hopefully catch you during the week.
Yeah. All right. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
I'll catch you soon.
Catch you later. Cheers. Bye bye.
Stop the